What's up, guys? I'm Random Frank P, and today, continuing our trend of the top 5 videos for 2022, we'll be checking out the top 5 webcams that came out this year, showing you some of the best options that you can pick up for streaming, conference calls, schooling, whatever you need a webcam for. Each is gonna have their own advantage and disadvantage. We'll cover it all for you guys today to find the best that's gonna fit your budget. If you see anything you like, I'll have them all listed for you in the description down below so you can check them out. We'll go over all the features of them, the quality, do some comparisons. Let's hop right in. Okay, coming in at the number 5 spot is the Ankerwork Videobar B600. This is a rather unique camera due to the actual built-in features it has, but makes the number 5 spot today because it has the lowest possible quality out of all of them on this list, just capable of 2K. But before you hop into that, taking a look at the actual webcam itself, as you can see, this is a pretty hefty and large, bulky webcam, definitely bigger than the average webcam out there, we'll say. But the reason for that and its overall complicated design in a way is because of all the features that it has to the actual webcam. So first off, taking a look at it, the actual top with its name being a video bar is just that. This can flip down to be a privacy cover, but also it does have a built-in light bar, as you can see. That's configurable in the software and also by these touch-sensitive buttons and strips on the webcam itself. So on the right side, the actual power button is what turns that on and off. You have the brightness slider on the face of the webcam. And then also on the left side of the webcam, you have a mic mute button. So real quick, I can do that there if I want to quickly mute it. The little LED light below the sensor itself will go red to alert you when it is muted. And by the way, for all these tests and stuff, I'll be using the actual webcam's microphone quality so you can not only see how it sounds, but hear how it sounds. So yes, this is the mic quality of the B600. This has 4 microphones built in, as well as 2 speakers. So this is definitely made for that conference sort of setup here, where you have this in the middle of the table, talking to everybody. All the 4 mics are picking up what's going on in the room. And interesting that it has 2 speakers built into the actual webcam itself, because you can play audio from this. Again, depending on who you're talking to, what kind of call you're in, if you're in a room with a lot of people, instead of playing it from your laptop or whatever, you can choose to play out of the actual speakers in the webcam, which is wild. So it doesn't end there. This also has built-in USB pass-through on the backside to power peripherals and such. So for example, you can plug in like a receiver to your wireless mouse and then now have that full capability, because with the USB pass-through, you can plug anything into it. Very bizarre. This is a very complicated sort of all-in-one design here, which explains its overall large size. But unfortunately, as you can see, it's just not the best quality, which is why it's at the number 5 spot. We'll take a look real quick to the software. I just think personally, it's focusing too much on everything behind me. I'm not sharp, I'm not in focus, and as the subject, I should be. It does a decent job of, picking up my face, but then when I start to move back out, it prioritizes the background. So unless you're very, very close, the background of this is going to be a lot of times what's the majority of the focus is going to be on. So you can adjust this from 65 degrees, 78 degrees, and 95 degrees, give you the widest field of view possible. They also have a solo frame mode, which if I am moving around, I just moved that, but you can see it zooms in to kind of keep me in frame. I'll move back up here and disable that. But yes, that is one of the options. In terms of the actual image settings, I kept this stock because it does break it pretty easily. The brightness kind of is just washing it out a bit. As you can see, sharpness really looks horrific, so I'm going to keep that at like 51. Saturation, this could definitely use a bit of a saturation boost. The image is just kind of flat and not vivid or accurate colors at all, so that can get a bit of a boost. And contrast ratio, if you want to kind of crunch the blacks a bit and make it a bit more punchy, you can do so, but honestly not too big of a difference. Again, it's really a bummer that the subject here isn't what the webcam is focusing on, and that sucks. And then lastly, before we move on, we have the actual light bar configuration inside the settings, which I much prefer instead of physically touching the webcam, which would be moving it. Obviously, you don't want to be doing that. and getting smudges on the front of the glass. That's not good. So you can adjust the brightness here. There's a lot more fine-tuned levels, as you can see, actually in the software versus just the actual touch slider. You can also adjust the color temperature from really cool to these two sort of mixed color temperatures, and then a very warm color temperature as well. You can also have an always on and an automatic light adjust, which will kind of get a reading of the room and then adjust the light bar. As you can see, the light bar went off because there is a lot of lights in my studio. So that's why it's turning off. It's pretty much saying, hey, you don't need me right now. So let's address that real quick. Yes, I have a lot of lights. This is a, studio for YouTube. So this is best case scenario. Let's talk worst case scenario with no lights on. I'll cut to that now so you can see how this looks in a darker, dimly lit scenario. And yeah, honestly, it's not too big of a difference with that light bar turned on. Sure, it's going to help a bit with, illuminating the face very slightly, but I don't think it's strong enough to make a major difference where it's going to fully illuminate me with there not being a lot of lighting. So just a little thing to touch on there. Again, at the number 5 spot with the Ankerwork B600, a 2K webcam, one of the more affordable ones on this list, but it's number 5 because it's just not good enough quality, I feel. Next at the number 4 spot is going to be the Lumina 4K. This has kind of been known as like the Apple webcam out there. Like if Apple were to make a dedicated webcam, it would be this because it's well made, it's well designed, the software very Apple-like, and it's just an Apple-like webcam. And as you can see out of the box, not too bad for the video quality. Taking a look at the actual webcam, very, very tiny here. This comes in a bunch of different colors as well, which is pretty cool. This is just the silver color option. Obviously, if you want to, match your webcam to your aesthetic or your certain desk setup, you have that choice. Also, what's pretty cool about this is it does come with this little magnetic privacy cover, which just snaps right on. You could, move it to the side when you're done, put it on the back side. It's magnetic. However you want to use it, you can. Now, this I will just get right off my chest real quick. This software to set up for the Lumina is, first off, very, very powerful, but also a pain in the ass, okay? Now, I say that because you need to be on the latest update for it to work or it won't open. Then you have to activate it. It sends you an email. It asks you 50 different questions. You have to jump through all these hoops. It calibrates. This took me like 20 minutes to set up. I want something that's quick, plug and play. Just wanted to get that off my chest. It's a pain, all right? But when it's all said and done, the image, as you can see, is pretty good. We're recording here at 4K. And first off, what's also a nifty little addition is they include this little color chart to manually calibrate it right out of the box to get it, to match the color accuracy to your current lighting and your current setup. So to do that real quick, you just click the color card right there. You can hold it up in frame and it'll take a few seconds. As you can see, we'll do this real time for you guys and it'll just start to pick it out. I have seen it's kind of hit or miss though. Sometimes it'll do it super quickly, sometimes it won't. So like right now it's kind of like not working for me, so I'm just gonna bring it back again. Let's see, there we go. It's tracking. The pie chart thing starting to complete. Come on, there we go. There we go. I gotta bring it closer to my face and manually calibrated according to my lighting and color going on. But I do feel like out of the box, again, looks nice and natural, but kind of flat. So real time, I'll bring you through. I want to kind of turn the exposure down just a little bit. White balance, I feel like it's okay. I want to add maybe just a bit more warmth, bump the saturation down a little bit. And let's go to detail. That's not what I want. So, okay. There's actually another thing, which again, just kind of add to the overall plethora of features and stuff inside their software. If you go to the advanced tab, you have a bunch of other stuff like contrast, raw sharpness, color curves, your actual like exposure curves. It's wild. So I do want to make this a bit more like that. Let's see, curve offset, bring it down a little bit. You know what, whatever. That looks fine. I think out of the box, it looks decent. Slightly a bit too flat, but not bad for an overall 4K image. So I showed you this stuff. Into framing, this pretty much is, you know, if you have different positions or other people in frame, you can have certain things where if someone's right here, it'll crop up to them, crop back to me. It's called the cameraman mode, where it just shows the other people. But since it's just me, we're just going to pretty much move on. And then this is the detail sort of thing, where on its own, you could adjust the blur. So let me go to turn that on as I drag the frame. Right now it's at 3. Again, this was just kind of stock out of the box. 5, 8, all the way up. Looks pretty good. Not a lot of fringing around my body. Around my shoulders, yes, but for a fake automatic blur like this, I think it looks pretty good. Now, there is also this edge strength where you can kind of go in and configure that. As you can see, it's kind of getting a bit closer to my shoulders there. You can even pad it a little bit. That's 5. We'll bring it into like negative 2, -1. And then you also have person sharpening, which just sharpens me, not anything else in the image. So as you can see, a bit too much there, but again, it's all an option. You can turn the strength pretty much down to 0. I think it looks really good at like 1 or 2. So really not bad. I think how this looks, how it sounds, pretty damn good. It comes in at number 4 because, again, it's not a simple plug and play process. It's on the more expensive side. They've been on sale recently for around $180. So it's a bit, you know, like I said, a bit pricey, a bit finicky for the software, but coming in at number 4 for me today. But we will also check up real quick on the low light and how it performs to give you guys a good example side by side so you can see how it looks out of the box. Again, just giving you guys a whole side by side for you. And then real quick before we move on, just gotta hit home again how tiny and compact this is versus the earlier option we showed off with the B600. Literally night and day here. Not that the size of the webcam is really gonna matter in a static environment, but sleek and compact, big and bulky, it's wild. But whatever. Moving on. Now for the number 3 spot is the OBSBOT Meet 4K. And also very tiny, compact webcam that out of the box I think looks really, really good with not a lot of modifications needed. But it also has some other features as well that's pretty cool. First up, again, this is the microphone quality we'll be using. And on the actual webcam itself, it comes with a magnetic versatile stand. So you could have this vertically, you know, facing down. Do really whatever you want with it. It's magnetic. It's not going to budge. It does come with a privacy cover as well. It fits right on the just top of the lens there. So if you're not live, but it's still powered on, you can just close the little privacy cam just like that. And here we are. We're back. And there is also a button up top here. This could do a few things as it focus hunts real quick. This can be configured to put the device to sleep. You can have it, you know, bring up your settings. It's configurable in the software, which is pretty cool, but pretty compact. And this is the 4K out of the box. So into their software, also pretty simple, but gives you, like I said, a lot of flexibility. For the image, they have some auto framing modes, so like a group mode, a close-up upper body if you're with other people. You can configure all of that. One of the interesting things is this virtual background mode. This says currently in beta, but if you turn this on, it will pause for a second. And now you have that NVIDIA like sort of fake background blur. Right now it's at 19%. It's definitely not the best. It has that very obvious fringe around the outside of my body and my hair. But not only blurring, you can have it so it's either green or blue if you want to key things out, or put yourself in a virtual room. It's in there. Not a lot of webcams have this natively built right into the software, so there if you need it. And you can adjust the actual FOV from 86, which is the widest, to 78 and 65, and if you are cropped in, you have a little gimbal mode, which virtually, lets you pan around the frame, but we'll keep it at 86, obviously. Now, for image, you have an HDR mode. You can actually adjust the focus, which is nice to see. Currently, it's on global, but you can set it to face. And just going real close, it does a pretty good job of picking my face up when it's nice and close. Pretty sharp overall as well. But I'd keep it on global right now because the background depth isn't really going to be, too naturally blurred as it is. auto exposure, which I think right now is, again, it looks fine. Don't need to adjust it, but you can. We also have a white balance mode. Yeah, as you should. Here, auto looks just fine. And again, if you want to mess with it a little bit, you got contrast, saturation. Whoa, too sharp or too saturated. Mess with your hues and stuff. Basic things that should be inside the webcam software. Now, there's not too much more, and really there doesn't have to be. There is a more setting for like, your updates and the sleep timers and stuff and configuring the button. But really, if you want to keep it here on the image, I think it's going to be more than just fine to keep it here for when you need to adjust your settings and stuff, because it has exactly what you need. But honestly, I've said it 3-4 times now, out of the box, this itself, just the image quality here at 4K 30 looks really, really good from the OBSBOT Meet 4K. And then, as we're doing, we'll go to a less flattering, dimly lit scenario so you can see how it looks in low light. But yes, this at the number 3 spot for you guys today. And it's pretty budget friendly at just around $130.
Now for the number 2 spot, winding our way down, is the brand new Elgato Facecam Pro. This is the 4K 60 FPS upgrade from last year's just regular Elgato Facecam. So you get a bump in quality and FPS here. It's the only one capable of 4K 60 on this list. The downside though is there's no built-in microphone. So the microphone you're hearing right now isn't from the actual webcam. It's the microphone that I use for most of my videos. So that, a bummer. Odds are though, when you're streaming, you probably have your own desktop microphone as it is, but still wanted to point it out that it's the only one on here that does not have a built-in mic. But like I said, you get the 4K 60, and right out of the box, again, it looks very good and natural. There is really not a lot that I would complain about looking at this right now, but inside their Camera Hub software, a lot of different settings and stuff you can mess with, which will let you enhance it or give it a certain look depending on your setup. So taking a look at it right here, at the top of the webcam, they do have a framing sort of FOV mode. This obviously lets you punch in and stuff if you really want to get close. You can see it is actually manually focusing here. And it's kind of like a DSLR in the sense where there's actual mechanics going on. It's not just digitally doing this. You can actually hear very finely it focusing. So you can crop in, you can use this little box here to digitally move all around your image if you want, but we'll keep it back out because again, the wider, the better here at 90 FOV, and you have the different presets and stuff saved if you do want to, pan in. For focus, it is currently at automatic center weighted, which means it's currently focusing on the center of the screen. So if I get really close to it, you'll see it hunts and then it picks me up in very good fine detail. But you can also have different things, spotting near, mid, or far and stuff. But just keep this automatic at center weighted if you are, using this as a streaming webcam, obviously. So it does keep you in frame. Picture contrast, currently at 50. You could make it really flat, make it very, very punchy. I kind of like it at around, I'll say like 50, 55, just give it more of a punchy look. Bump the saturation just slightly, and then compensate the exposure, maybe like, yeah, perfect, a third. I think this looks fantastic. Again, you can see it hunting a little bit because I'm moving my hands, so still trying to dictate what's the closest thing to the center here. White balance is at the automatic. It's still only adjustable in terms of, as you'll see with most of these, the color temperature from 2500 Kelvin to the warmer 12,000 Kelvin, which is way too much, set it to automatic. I would still love for Elgato to integrate a tint from the magenta to the green tint, just to have a little bit. And as you can see here, the white balance right now, it's teetering. You'll see real time in the software. This is gonna be your best bet to set it as automatic because you'll see it's really fine tuning it. And those are numbers that you cannot automatically set for the color temperature. So for example, it's at 4498. You cannot type that in 4498. It'll go to the closest, which is 4500 Kelvin. So always keep the white balance at automatic. Then you have your processing for your anti-flicker and stuff. You have a lot of LEDs and stuff in your room. But very simple software, very just straightforward. But honestly, I was a big fan of the regular Elgato Facecam. However, this 4K 60 FPS upgrade here looks phenomenal. Now, are you gonna need yourself to be 4K and 60 FPS? No, not really. However, they give you that option, and currently out there on the market, they're the really only ones that give you that option as well. So making the list today at the number 2 spot, and here you go for the low light situations and scenarios, as well as the stock, so you can see how it looks versus how it looks altered in a dimly lit room. So this for $300 looks fantastic, but do keep in mind, we do not have a built-in microphone, and they ditched the privacy cover, which we got on the previous Elgato Facecam. Not a big deal. I don't typically use, privacy covers. I'll just unplug it as it is, but we did lose that. However, you're paying for the quality. So the Facecam Pro might be a bit tough to find right now. It's the newest one that came out on this list within the last few weeks. It's been out of stock everywhere I looked, so keep an eye on the link down below. Hopefully they'll be getting more for the holiday rush, but definitely a pretty close competitor at the number 2 spot. But I think personally, at the end of the day, number 1 is going to be hands down the Insta360 Link webcam. This is mind-blowing quality for a webcam. Welcome to perfection. This is literally just DSLR quality and does not resemble a webcam whatsoever. So obviously taking the number 1 spot today shouldn't be that much of a shocker now that you've seen the actual quality. And there's actually a decent amount to cover here because, as you can tell, it's on this 3-axis gimbal. So let's start to dive in. In their link controller software, also pretty simple and self-explanatory. The first thing you're going to see when you pop up is the gimbal control over on the right side, in addition to the live preview here, where you can go in and change the resolution. So we're right here at 4K for you guys. Looks super crisp, but natural, not over sharpened by any means, just out of the box, 0 alterations, looking fantastic. Also, as you're hearing, unlike the Elgato webcam, we have a built-in microphone, which does very, very good. It is a dual noise canceling microphone, and I'm about, maybe 1.5 feet away from the actual webcam itself right now. So it does a pretty good job of picking me up and doing a good job of eliminating pretty much everything else going on down here in the studio, although it's relatively quiet as it is. Now, also taking a look at it, this is an f1.8 4K sensor, so you can tell the natural blur in the background looks really nice with me in frame, giving that depth and separation of my background behind me. But this is also one of the more punched in field of view. So out of all the lists today, this has the closest field of view versus something like the 90s we've seen some of the previous ones, but still they have a way to kind of compensate that, which you'll see coming up. So again, back into the software. Over on the right side is your gimbal control. Considering this is on a gimbal, you could fully move this up, down, left, right. You have full control of this webcam because it's on a 3-axis gimbal. That's wild. And where that comes into play is you can have different sort of sets going on or different angles preset in the software. So for example, I'm at me sitting main. I could have it quickly, say your preset over my shoulder, the opposing wall, go into the TV section over here, overhead, and then coming right back to me sitting main. And then if I want to, bump it up a little bit, it stays on that even axis as well because it's on the gimbal head. And I can move my actual laptop. You'll see in the over-the-shoulder shot, I'm moving it, but the head of the webcam itself is staying even with me. Incredible, incredible stuff. Over to image settings, you can obviously do your auto exposure for compensating it, turning it down a little bit, bumping it up a lot. Really though, stock looked fine. Same thing with color temperature. This adjusts from 2000 Kelvin to a really warm 10,000 Kelvin, but we'll keep it at auto. And then you can adjust the brightness. So I'll bring it down to 47, sure. Contrasty, It gets punchy, but it's not really, you're not losing detail and quality in me at all, which is what's important. So you have all this, obviously saturation, sharpness as well. Yeah, it's all fine, but you know what? We're going back to auto because out of the box, it just looks that good. And then in the more settings tab, This is where it starts to get interesting. So we're going to come back to this in a second. You'll notice on the bottom of the preview, what we have are a few buttons. First up is tracking. As I showed you before with the 3-axis gimbal, how it moves, left and right. It can automatically do that, but still keep me in frame as I move, versus on the other webcams that, digitally punch in and like zoom in artificially, and then you're losing quality. But here, it's keeping me in frame and moving all around. Figured that was a cool little thing to show you guys how it's doing that real time. There's also a whiteboard mode, which if you have like a whiteboard, you're doing like a demonstration and stuff, that like focuses just on that kind of. I don't have a whiteboard, can't really demo it for you, unfortunately. But back to me now, we have some gestures because they have gesture control, which is pretty cool. First off, you can enable their auto tracking with your palm. So to show you how that works, if I put my palm up, you'll see it blinks blue on the webcam. That's going to enable the auto tracking versus having to go in and manually turn it on like I did before. Now there's also a zoom. So for example, I'm going to move back a bit. You'll see the webcam still keeping me in frame. I'm going to put an L up next to my head. It blinks blue to let me know that the tracking is actually, or it's notifying the gesture, like it's recognizing it, and it's zooming in to me. If I bring that L back down a bit, it'll crop back out. And then you also have the whiteboard thing, like I said before, but again, we don't have a whiteboard, unfortunately. So let me turn all these off so it's not. Okay, just wanted to reset the frame real quick so I'm back in the center there. But yes, you do have those gestures with tracking and zooming, all very cool. So if you're not right in front of your laptop to manually control those things, you have that with gestures. You can also adjust the tracking speeds and stuff. They have certain AI zooming for just focusing on your head, half your body or your whole body if you're moving around the room. And your anti-flicker set to auto. Your camera focus, you can have it auto, which is really good, or manual. So as you can see, you can go in and manually do all this, but keep it at auto and you go up real close to it and just look how sharp and natural that image is. And it just looks like too good. Like you're noticing too many details about my face now. Doesn't ever focus hunt. Keeps me in frame, in focus, looking like a damn DSLR. So this retailed for $300 when it came out. It's been on sale for on the Black Friday, Cyber Monday holiday craze for just around $280. Plus you get like a free little tripod as well included with the bundles. Like I said before, if you want to use that for like the overhead shots, you can. So $280 for the best looking webcam I've ever seen. I think really not too bad at all. You got the 3-axis gimbal if you need that. If they ever decide to release this without the 3-axis gimbal, it's game over. People might not need a 3-axis gimbal. I understand that, but it's there to keep you in frame, there to keep you even, and it's incredible. That's why this is number one, and it's really no competition. So now we'll do the low light comparison for you guys so you can see how it looks with a low light scenario in the studio versus the full studio lighting so you can get a side-by-side comparison of the quality of each. So really, given all the features, the quality, the fact that it's on a gimbal, if you are in that teaching scenario where you're up and moving around or whatever, doing conferences, this has got you covered pretty much on every single base, from the tracking, the verticality, overhead shots, and just from looking like a DSLR quality type video. Insta360 is doing some wild stuff here with this camera, and I gotta say, like, this is the most impressive webcam I've ever seen. Even in my review, people were like, that's not a webcam, that's DSLR, you're faking this. And then they, obviously they saw more reviews and stuff, but absolutely fantastic. So that's the top 5. Each one's gonna have their own advantage and disadvantage, whether it's price, to features, to quality. That's why I did a top 5 roundup, so you can see which one's gonna be best for your needs and to fit your budget overall. So like I said before, all of them are listed for you in the description down below. And that'll wrap it up. Hope you enjoyed the top 5 webcams of 2022. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up to show your support. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at randomfrankp. And last, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Hope you all enjoyed. Have a good day.